when she died, Dad said, I'm going to.
I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lincoln-Lancaster County Planning Commission of January 11th, 2023. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, is available online or at the Planning Department, room 213. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. If you parked in the parking lot across the street to the north, the door is open and no parking coupons are needed. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, commissioners and the staff, cell phones may not be used in the chamber during any portion of this meeting. We appreciate your cooperation. The Planning Commission action today is final on the following items. 1.2, Special Permit 22043, 1.3, Special Permit 22025, 5.1, Pre-existing Special Permit 23J, 6.1B, Use Permit 22013, and 6.1C, Special Permit 22038. Any aggrieved person may appeal final action of the Planning Commission to the City Council or the County Board by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk within 14 days following the action of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission action on all other items is a recommendation to the City Council or County Board. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held December 21st, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved. Christie? Joy?
Second, Core.
Shelley?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Abstain?
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Minutes approved, 6-1.
Thank you. The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will ask Shelley to read all the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Shelley, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, I want to please note that agenda item 1.2, Special Permit 22043, is being removed from the consent agenda and is scheduled for public hearing. So first item on the consent agenda is item 1.1, Comprehensive Plan Conformance 22025, to review as to conformance with the 2050 Lincoln-Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan, adding 3 projects to the Urban Development CIP Capital Improvement Program for the fiscal year 2022-2023, projects including Pershing, South of Downtown Rental Rehabilitation Program, and supportive housing. Next item is item 1.3, Special Permit 22025, to correct Resolution PC 01819. The Planning Commission action is final unless appealed with the Lancaster County Board. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
No.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
No.
Is there anyone here wishing to speak on these consent agenda items? Please.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak on any of the items on the consent agenda? Okay. With that, we will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Second. Joy?
Shelley?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
There are no requests for deferral, so we will now proceed to public hearing. Prior to staff making a brief presentation, each staff person should state their name, agency, and address. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The timer will go off after 4 minutes. The clerk will then indicate you have 1 minute remaining to wrap up your testimony. Once the final minute has lapsed, the clerk will indicate that your time is up. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members and/or included as part of the record, please provide them to the clerk. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the Commission votes to defer action or continue the public hearing. Shelley, will you please call the first item on the public hearing docket?
The first item is item 1.2, special permit 22043, which was removed from the consent agenda to allow for expanded home occupation to allow for the sale of firearms on property generally located at 16311 Ashland Road. The Planning Commission action is final on this item. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
No.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of this site to be disclosed?
No. Tom?
Good afternoon, Tom Chika, planning staff. This request for special permit for expanded home occupation is to allow for the sale of firearms and related products from the residents. The property is located at 162nd and Ashland Road, right on the county line between Lancaster and Saunders County. The site is 4.6 acres. They are requesting a waiver to reduce the minimum lot size for expanded home occupation from 10 acres to 4.6 acres, and a waiver to allow the sale of products not made or manufactured on site. The applicant has stated that there will be no outside employees. There is no, the work related to the business would be done in the house, would be the office, and then in the outbuilding, a small portion of that outbuilding would be used for storage of inventory. There's no parking area required with this. The typically on average, maybe 2 to 3 people per week at the most would come here to pick up their items. The bulk of the work, and the applicant can go into more detail, but based on the applicant's letter, most of the sales is done I think over the computer, and then the product shipped. There's no outside business related activity. Everything's inside. A condition, one of the conditions is that there would be no outdoor shooting range allowed for customers. I do want to add to that, though, that in the county, you're allowed to shoot off a firearm. You can discharge a firearm every day of the week if you wanted to. So this doesn't prohibit the owner or friends of the owner or, somebody else going out there and shooting, firearms. It's only related to a customer like wanting to test fire a firearm. So the other condition, it talks about roads, pavement. Ashland Road is a paved road. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions for Tom? No? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Testimony from the applicant. Hello.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name's Kenny Wynn. I live at 16311 Ashland Road, and I am the applicant. Didn't really have anything prepared to come up. It was going to be a consent agenda, but just to give you some rundown as far as my business and what I do. I'm a veteran-owned operation, Heartland Precision Rifle. Namely focuses on rifle training, but we conduct that in the Niobrara, Nebraska area. We don't facilitate client rifle training services at the residence. The majority of my sales right now are optics. I'm a brand representative for Zeiss and some other shooting community brands as well, which I facilitate sale off of my firing line. People come out, they train with me, they realize, hey, that's a nice piece of equipment, I would like to purchase that. I figured out I'd just quit directing them somewhere else and start being that person. Really to be in the firearms community and make revenue that is noteworthy, you need to have an FFL. My FFL desires is not to have a showroom on my floor where people are coming in. I've got racks of rifles. I'm on the firing line. Someone says, hey, I'm looking for this rifle. I can say, good to go. I'm a dealer of this rifle. I'll put an order in. Now you can come to my house and pick it up. But more so, I also work with a lot of your outdoor banquets. So Pheasants Forever, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. If I have my FFL, I'm allowed to facilitate rifle transfers from those banquets, which gets me in front of clients, outdoor clients. So there's a couple different offshoots how you can utilize that. Additionally, I have corporate clientele. I won't drop names, but I've got a client from one of the biggest trucking companies in Omaha who their security entity has trained with me, has bought resources from me, and has inquired if I could potentially sell them ammunition for their security services in the future. I also have law enforcement accounts, which would allow me to sell firearms and rifles specifically to them. I've trained with LPD, actually within the last year. They came up and trained with me in Niobrara. So I believe that there's potential to work with them as well. And being fairly local, being able to just drive up and pick up ammo or whatever is convenient. I'd be willing to answer any questions that you have at this point. That's kind of the rundown of what I'm looking to do and what I currently do. I currently sell no ammunition or firearms. I can't do that without an FFL. The ATF will not give me an FFL until I come here. And
Sure. First step.
give my stuff, so.
So, am I right in paraphrasing that this is an intended expansion of your current business and would allow you to expand into a different area and really complements what you're already doing?
Yeah, I would say it doesn't really allow me to expand. I'm already there. I'm in the market. It allows me to pursue additional revenue streams that without an FFL, I'm kind of hamstrung.
Excellent.
If that makes sense.
It does.
So you'll always have your bigger box stores
Sure.
kind of being the go-tos for that. So
Questions for the applicant?
Thank you
Right.
for coming up and explaining.
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you
Thank
for
you
having
very
me.
much.
Appreciate it.
And appreciate your service.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Is there any testimony in support of this application? Testimony in support? I believe we have two folks on Zoom who would like to testify, and the first one is a neutral testifier. Sometimes it takes a minute. Is Casey Lee online? Casey Lee, can you hear me? If so, you are welcome to testify on this matter. Casey, can you hear me? I know, technology is wonderful, isn't it? If Casey Lee isn't available, we also had another individual, Jenny Sitch, I believe. Jenny, are you available? Oh, I see you.
Oh, we can't hear her though.
I can't hear you, so let's see what we can do about that. You want to try again?
No. It must be, I do think it's something on our end, probably.
Sounds like it.
She might check her volume.
Jenny, is your volume turned up?
Yes.
Okay. You can hear me, obviously.
Yes.
Well, if I knew sign language, I would help you, but I don't. So
Um.
we're going to check it out on our end. So just be patient for a moment, please. Thank you. Any luck?
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
No.
Oh, there was,
We can hear you in the other room. It's just not being
but there was sound.
brought into this room. We could hear you from the other room. They are working on it. Okay, they are working on it. If you can just be patient for a second. Thank you so much. Appreciate everyone's patience.
I don't know about you, but I don't remember I had that problem with Zoom at our house.
Well, I'm not seeing her anymore, but Jenny, are you still there? Could you speak
I
again,
am still
please?
here. Yep.
I can hear it in the hallway.
Reconvene in the hallway, I guess.
In the hallway. We could all go up there.
Just so the public doesn't think we're all mute up here, you could sing while we're waiting.
You could record her out there, bring it in here, play it, ask questions,
I know,
send
but
it back.
What if I pulled it up? Back loop would be terrible.
Could we?
It might be just, are you guys on? It's working.
It is. It took a while, but
When you go over Highway 6. It says to me it's down.
You can still hear everybody. Can you hear me yet?
I think we're getting closer.
I can hear you, Jenny.
Move it back.
Oh, Casey can hear me.
oh gosh.
It makes me think of that Water Family episode where they're on the stick and he's like on the iPad, like wheeling around.
Can anybody hear me now?
We're getting closer, Jenny. We are bringing in a television into the room so that we will be able to hear you better.
Fantastic.
Just a couple more minutes. And then do we know, is Mr. Lee still here as well?
Yes.
Love to, or, and so they got frustrated. So we should probably check back. To figure this out ahead of time. We're getting closer, Jenny.
Oh, go ahead and try that out.
Jenny, are you there? Oh my goodness.
I am. A lot of echo feedback.
So are we.
You want to try again?
Okay. How does that sound?
And one more time, Jenny.
Okay. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's getting a little better, but there's still quite a bit of feedback.
Okay.
So we're working on that. Jenny?
Yes.
I think we can probably make that work now. We really appreciate your patience with us, everyone, and you as well. Jenny, if you want to go ahead and state your name and address for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Okay. So my name is Jennifer Sitch. I'm at 22801 North 176th Road in Greenwood. So within a mile of the proposed property. My feeling on this is I'm just not that comfortable with a non-agricultural retail exposure of a potentially high theft product on less than 10 acres. Where you all moved out to the county, be in an agricultural environment, and this is retail. Now, even though at this point in time, it's a special order by appointment situation. It has potential to grow exponentially. Sky's the limit when you're your own boss and in charge of marketing and those kinds of things. So it's a matter of, will the look of the environment here out here change with signage? Will we have more people in the area just giving attention to the business? Some of the attention may not be unwanted, if you can catch my drift. And just also the fact that the zoning and permitting that allows for the sale of firearms from the premises stays with the property. I initially thought maybe it was tied to the applicant and the property, but was informed, no, it goes with the property if it's sold. So that gives me another layer of just discomfort in my gut about it. Like it's been pointed out, it's on the paved road between Ashland and Ceresco, and it is in close proximity to 162nd Street, which is a very wide gravel road that goes between Highway 6 and all the way to Fremont, the direct shot. So who knows what county development will look like in the future? Maybe that road gets paved. Maybe this becomes a location where you could not necessarily Heartland Precision Rifle, but maybe the new owner could set up shop at. And I understand the new owner would, of course, have to get their own licensing and all of that stuff. Like I understand that. I understand firearms can be shot by anyone at any time out in the county. We have guns, we hunt, like I get all those things. I couldn't maybe let this opportunity to voice my concerns about how this action changes this property and the amount and the type of business that could be conducted from it. I just couldn't necessarily let that pass. And I guess I would ask, I don't know, but how many applications like this have come in where someone on under 10 acres wants to get the special permit to have the license, to sell firearm and ammo. How many of those have happened in the county in the last period of time? I don't know.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Is there any questions for the testifier? I don't want to cut you off. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I guess with the firearms, and I know that the property owner can shoot, their friends can shoot those things, but I wondered if firearms that are proposed for sale would be test fired by the property owner prior to sale, and if so, what hours that would be conducted in, how often that might happen. I had sent a list of questions that Tom had answered ahead of time, and I'm assuming that everybody got those, and if not, I can read them and the answers. That would be the other thing if there's time.
Well, we can follow up with Tom on that in our follow-up with him.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions?
Thanks for sticking with us, Jenny.
Yep. Thank you for your time. Were we able to recover the other person? No. Okay. Questions for Tom? If you would want to come up and kind of respond to her comments about the questions.
Sure. I didn't print off the email with her question, so I'm going to have to go by memory here. One of the questions I recall was about a outdoor shooting range, which is not going to be allowed. She had a question about signage, and under Article 13.032, the only sign allowed is one non-illuminated, non-reflective nameplate, not more than 20 square feet in area. And that would have to be on the property. So you're talking a very, very small sign. She had asked questions, and this the applicant would have to answer, but she had asked questions about the quantity and the type of firearms that he would be allowed to sell, if he was going to be allowed to sell ammunition, if he would be allowed to buy and sell used guns. Those three things. The special permit wouldn't cover those. I think, I don't know for sure. I would assume that would all be under his licensing from the ATF. Oh yeah, she asked about the special permit. Special permits do run with the property. So if it was sold, the new property owner, the special permit would still be on the land. They would also have to abide by the conditions of the special permit. If his business did increase and he sold more or had more people come into the site, we don't have a condition in the report that limits, how much traffic. I found that. I'm sure it'll be minimal. Her other question about similar special permits, we did one, it's had to be within the last 6 months. We did this same thing for a person who wanted to sell firearms, and his lot was, if I remember correctly, was about 2.5 acres. I know I did another one of these a couple of years ago. I think this is probably the third or fourth one of these for selling firearms that we've done in the county. All the previous ones have been approved, and as far as I know, no problems with any of them.
Thank you. Any questions for Tom?
Go ahead.
So I know the size of the lot was reduced, but it was put there for a purpose. So in the special permit, the 10 acres, is that due to allowing discharge of firearms? Like, what was the original intent of the 10 acres?
The original intent of the 10 acres was because some of these expanded home occupations, which basically will allow you to ask for any type of business you want, that's not allowed under the strict AG zoning district. So we've had, some in the past have been approved, wedding event venues have been approved under this special permit, outdoor storage, a contractor that makes countertops, things that need, a lot of times you would need a larger area for that type of business. Also, it was to not have, allow businesses that have more impact on the adjacent neighbors on small lots. In this case, since this is very limited for customers coming and going, and the impact is very minimal, we planning staff felt that the waiver was acceptable.
So the size is related to the expanded home occupation, not to the specifics of it being sale of firearms, correct?
Right. One of the conditions in the zoning code says that it shall be on 10 acres.
Other questions?
Tom, can you clarify for me? So when you say, so I want to make sure that this is matching up for me. No firing range, but if a customer came in and wanted to like test fire a gun, they could still do that because you can shoot guns in the county. Is that?
Right. Yeah, when we say outdoor gun range, I think we're talking about
Like
a real
recreation.
gun range with targets and a lot of, setup as such.
So
I
he
think-
could still have a customer come and test fire a gun before completing the purchase, that would still be allowed.
I would say so, yes.
Other questions?
Okay. When the one question, when she talked about the issue of it being with the land, is there any way for us to restrict this to the owner versus tied to the land?
I don't think so. I think that's in the zoning regulations.
We've talked about this before, haven't we? Okay.
Other questions for Tom? Thank you.
Yep.
Applicant rebuttal. You're welcome to come and add anything if you'd like.
Have me back up. I'll answer any question you have.
Sure.
So I think one of the concerns is, well, not a concern, but people would like some clarification on is a firing range. Okay, so I do not intend to market or advertise that, hey, you can come to my location and shoot guns. I don't even intend to have folks who I'm selling guns to come out and fire those rifles. If I need to fire that rifle, I'm probably going to fire it myself, like a scope mounting or something of that nature. So I cater to, let's just say, the high-end hunting community. I'll get folks who buy high-end scopes. They put them on high-end rifles. Some of these folks are confident with a guy of my background as a former Army sniper instructor, putting that scope on there, zeroing it for them, and handing it off. The thing is, I do the majority of this up at my range in Niobrara. I would say that is where the majority of it would still continue to take place. I understand that there's potential for my revenue and traffic to potentially pick up. I don't want my home to be a showroom. I want, really what I forecast seeing is corporate law enforcement entities mainly coming to me to do business locally for their firearms and ammunition needs. I don't need flashing lights to do that. I'm pretty well established within that arena. They trust me and the ability to come out and me say, here you go, or hey, let me call in the ATF real quick and do this. There you go, I transfer it over. That's really what I'm doing. I'd gladly answer any questions specifically, if you guys have any.
Yeah. Can you deliver, if you have this occupation out of your home, can you deliver then to Anybody
I cannot. The only
come to you?
the only place where I can transfer the utilization of that federal firearms license would be a gun show or a banquet, where I am actually, so at like your outdoor banquets where they do
Right.
gun raffles and stuff like that, I am now the guy where said individual who won the gun, they come up to my table, and I'm there to market my company as well, right? And I usually run a booth, but now I'm marketing, but I'm in the firearms industry. So I can now, since I have that FFL, I can make that call back to the ATF, to the database, and say, hey, I've got said individual, has this purchase permit, can you run the background check? Yes, good to go. I run the paperwork, and I hand that gun off to them, right? The FFL is specifically tied to, and you have to conduct that business at the addressed location that it's approved for. You can down the road, there's never like a pizza delivery service for firearms, I guess is kind of what I'm saying.
Okay,
Right?
that's on my
I would be able to tie that FFL to another location, like Niobrara. Let's say I had a location that I lived or a business.
the second
Then
question I
I
had.
can get a secondary location, but I have to conduct transfers and business to include those phone calls from those prescribed locations.
Okay, and you do not have one in Niobrara currently?
An FFL? I do not, no.
Okay, that was my
No.
question. Okay.
A little back, so I had folks who handled FFL services for me for training, and I've just decided I want to do that myself. I was just a little.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I just wasn't really impressed with fishing it out, so.
Okay, fair enough.
Any other questions?
One other question. So, the person mentioned concerns around safety and theft.
Yes.
So as part of the ATF licensing, FFL, I believe, is there, I guess, what are the requirements for
So,
securing?
so
ammunition and
the
guns?
minimal requirement is a lockable, fireproof, big safe deterrent, or theft deterrent safe. So I have a very large safe, which is key fobbed. I plan to, once awarded my FFL, I'll probably have another one that I bring in specifically for ammunition. But all those rifles will be stored. Like, I'm not gonna leave someone's $2,000, $3,000 rifle just out in my shed, so if someone broke in the door, they could get it. I literally, just yesterday, had a contractor come out. So in my shed, I have a loft. It is concrete floor. I have a entertainment area over here, and I'm looking at now taking approximately 200 square foot and making a enclosed area with lockable door. So now, not only for theft deterrent from outside folks, but now I don't have my kids or anyone who visits the property go into that office, right, and get access to the safe. So I'm putting another layer, right, and I intend to probably, for insurance purposes, also contact like ADT or SEI and have a camera or something of that nature put in. As far as safety additionally, like if you're talking like firearms handling or anything of that nature, like we don't, like I said, we don't run range operations, so I don't envision rounds getting off the range, so to speak, as I like to say. If people are worried about noise anytime I do fire, right, which is usually in a personal capacity, I'm using a silencer, a can or suppressor, as we like to say, which is a lot more than anyone else around me does. So if I'm shooting suppressed usually, all right? But I don't shoot very much. I instruct, and that's where I get my enjoyment. So I don't shoot recreationally, even at my location. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second, Core?
Shelley?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz. Yes. Joy,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
I would move that we approve special permit 22043.
Second, Joy.
Discussion.
I think he's setting up a very legitimate operation here. He's well-trained himself. His military experience has led him to have knowledge in the areas that he is working in. And I think it's a good opportunity for somebody who is on disability to be able to develop an extra stream of income that provides a benefit to especially law enforcement and such. So I will be supporting this.
Any other discussion?
Again, as the rural person, this is a opportunity that having this on record as a business will also help our community, so we know where everything's happening out in the rural community. Thanks.
I will support it too. We've had other applications that are very similar to this, so I think it would be a little unfair to not support this one when we have previously passed very similar applications. And I appreciate you coming up and kind of educating us on some of the practices.
I will also support this application. I can certainly understand the concern about a special permit kind of running with the land, not mattering who owns the property. That being said, certainly the underlying licenses would have to go along with that, and that's outside of the purview of what we do here at the Planning Commission. And I think that we can rest assured that that doesn't necessarily follow that every transfer of this property would involve an additional business in this area. I think that it's makes sense, and I'm happy to support it. Shelley?
Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Raymond Yost.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you.
Our next item is for continued public hearing, item 5.1, pre-existing special permit 23J to amend the Nebraska Wesleyan University pre-existing special permit 23I to change the boundary of the special permit to include new parking lots on property generally located at the northeast corner of 52nd and Madison Avenue, southwest corner of 51st and Huntington Avenue, and between 54th and 56th Street, south of Huntington Avenue. The Planning Commission action is final unless appealed to the Lincoln City Council. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
No.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of this site to be disclosed?
No. Emma?
Emma Martin, planning staff, 555 South 10th Street. This is a request to expand the area of a special permit located within Nebraska Wesleyan University along North 56th Street from Madison Avenue to Huntington Avenue. Excuse me. The expansion would allow for the creation of parking lots generally located along Madison Avenue and Huntington Avenue. If you'd like, I can read off the addresses. The planned additional parking will help relieve the pressure of on-street parking and should serve to benefit the neighborhood. It will, unfortunately, result in the demolition of several existing buildings. Each parking lot will have to meet the screening requirements for parking lots next to residential uses. The expansion is in conformance with the future land use plan in the 2050 comprehensive plan and the North 48th Street and University Place plan, which is specifically for this area. The future land use plan shows the subject properties as public and semi-public uses, and parking lots for students, staff, and visitors falls within that use group. The parking lots, excuse me. There site-specific conditions were met when the applicant resubmitted their application after a review, and those corrections were made. Those site-specific conditions were to identify the boundary of the special permit and revise the legal description to the satisfaction of the Register of Deeds and Planning Department, which was done. Do you have any questions?
Questions for Emma?
You wouldn't happen to have pictures of the buildings they're tearing down, do you?
I do not.
Okay.
I apologize.
And are there 3 areas? Is that the
Yes.
new parking areas that are being expanded?
Yes, so there is an existing parking lot at, at Huntington Avenue near North 51st Street.
Okay.
That is going to be expanded.
Okay.
Along here, this is on North 56th and Huntington, there are a parking lot here and then these lots. Some of them have homes on them, 2 of them, I think one of them does not.
Okay.
And then up here, there is a parking lot here and an existing building. This has an apartment building on it along near North 51st Street. I do not know the condition. When I went and saw it, it looked fine to me, but I just looked at it, and I'm not an inspector.
Got it. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Testimony from the applicant.
Dan Rosenthal at the Riga Engineering, 601 Old Cheney Road here in Lincoln, Nebraska. I guess I did talk to the owner, or Wesleyan, yesterday, and there's a couple of different questions regarding security and lighting of the parking lots. So as Emma said, the parking lots will be screened, there will be lighting. They'll manage them just like they do other parking lots with security, drive around the area. And then related to the houses that were tore down or going to be tore down, the houses are in pretty bad shape. And they were actually having nobody live in the houses because either foundation damage, termite damage, or water damage. So all those structures come down because, as you can imagine, buying a house to build a parking lot doesn't really seem feasible unless the house is in really bad shape. So other than that, anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Questions for the applicant? Not right now. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
You're welcome.
Yep. Is there any testimony in support of this application? Testimony in support? Is there any neutral testimony or testimony in opposition? Okay, any additional questions for staff? Okay. I'm assuming you're done. You don't need to come back up. All right, we'll go forward with motions.
I would move to close the public hearing. Campbell?
Second, Ball.
Shelley?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Public hearing is closed.
I would move to approve pre-existing special permit 23J.
Second. Oh,
I was
second core.
Discussion.
I have not only worked with Wesleyan over many years, but also know that neighborhood and also know the amount of on-street parking that happens out there. And I think this is a tremendous move for the university and should be of value to the community. So I'll be supporting it.
I too will be supporting it. I do know a couple of administrative staff at the school, and in conversations around community events and activities, parking has been a big challenge to host at the school and participate in the beautiful campus they have. So I'm glad this permit looks to be getting approved, so I'll be supporting it.
I too will support it. I never like to see buildings torn down, but I'm also very familiar with that area. And so I trust, kind of like the applicant was saying, like, you're not going to buy a house to go to the expense of tearing it down and then the expense of adding a parking lot. I am a former employee of NWU and NYU, I wish, no. And so I know, I'm very familiar with the parking challenges, and also from a neighborhood perspective, I think they'll appreciate getting the parking off the street and clearing up the roadways a little bit. So I will, definitely a win-win, I think, for everybody.
Yep. I agree with my colleagues. Shelley?
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Ryman Yost,
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Approved 7-0. We'll next go to the following items that are for action only. These applications were carried over from the December 21st, 2022 hearing for action only by the Planning Commission due to failing to obtain the necessary 5 affirmative votes to move these applications forward. First item is 6.1A, change of zone 22035 from B1 Local Business District to R1 Residential District, and B2 Planned Neighborhood Business District, and from R1 Residential District to B2 Planned Neighborhood Business District on property generally located at 2201 Old Cheney Road. And associated item 6.1B, use permit 22013 to allow for a use permit with an associated change of zone to B2 Planned Neighborhood Business District and allow up to 75,000 square feet of a commercial floor area on property generally located at 2201 Old Cheney Road. The Planning Commission action is final. The next item is associated item 6.1C, special permit 22038 to allow for a CUP, community unit plan for up to 36 dwelling units with associated waivers to the maximum block length and setback requirements, also on property generally located at 220 Old Cheney, 2201 Old Cheney Road, and the Planning Commission action is final. You should have received a staff memo dated January 10th, 23, identifying revisions to the conditions of approval as assigned by staff and applicant for the use permit and special permit. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
Yes.
Yes.
I was contacted by adjacent landowners who would like a first right of refusal to purchase the properties adjacent to their lots for their family members. I asked them to contact David Carey or the developer to discuss the options of that process.
Thank you. Anything else?
Okay. Are
Shelley?
there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
No. Before we get started with motions, Ben?
Ben Callahan with the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street, 68508. And if you'd like, I can kind of go back through all three applications briefly and then the updated memos and try to keep those separated in case we have any questions.
Yes.
So just starting on the area for the former Knowles Golf Course here south of Old Cheney and Norman Road. So the staff report for the change of zone, there were no changes or update to a memo with that report, so that is staying as it was presented on the 21st. They're still requesting a small portion of R1, making this whole area R1, and that will be related to the special permit for the CUP. And then along the north would be changing to B2 along Old Cheney Road. For the use permit, so this use permit was going forward as with the B2, and they were presenting a limited number of uses that could operate on the site and would allow up to 75,000 square feet of space within the permit. So the memo that was received, and a little bit in working with the applicant, they have been working with the neighborhood, a small group of neighbors, in hopes that they've come to an agreement that both conditions for the use permit and special permit will help cover some of the concerns from the prior meeting. And Brad Marshall did send over an exhibit, and a little bit on this would be, this was just updated as a visual for today to show that the conditions for both the use permit and the CUP, as the numbering changed a little bit with the lots, so they wouldn't have been together on there. So some of the conditions being added on the memo, they did note the concern that the neighbors had to the east. So there was originally a 50-foot setback. They also had a concern with any future sidewalk, how close that would be to their property line. So they are adding in 1.11. They're extending this to 100 feet. And then 1.14 would require that any future sidewalk would be within the western 20 feet of that setback. So it'd keep roughly 80 feet to their property. One of the other concerns was with the height of the building. So now with the increased setback, they are reducing this height down to 40 feet from the first level as well. They added a condition for the facade with 40% brick or stone veneer, and then an increased distance for dumpsters that would be allowed from the existing properties. So that would be up to 200 feet, and then increasing from 100 to 200 feet for any electronic changeable sign from the existing property. And then moving on to the special permit. So use the same exhibit here. So one of the first changes they made where they did reduce, originally it was asking for 36 dwelling units. They're adding in the condition, they removed a lot behind the existing homes here. So now the maximum allowed would be 35. And they are specifically stating that they're single family detached lots. Additionally, with the concern for the abutting neighborhood for lots 12, 13, 23, and 24, they're increasing from the original 10-foot required setback to a 20-foot side yard setback. The lots 5 through 12 will also have an increased setback of a 30-foot rear yard, and then would have a 10-foot side yard. Originally, that was going to be 7.5 for this area. So lots 5 through 12 would have a 10-foot side yard, with the lots getting a little wider. And last, additional screening was added, where at the end of the cul-de-sacs, they'll be providing a 10-foot high, 100-foot wide screening buffer from the existing homes. So again, both memos would be updated to the conditions for the report. And I did want to note, we had a question from the public just regarding if there's any concern that this would be approved in the future, could it change without their knowledge? So I just want to note that if this was to be approved, this would follow with the land. Whether they sell, they would still have to come back and follow the conditions with each plan.
Thank you for clarifying that. Questions for Ben? Yep. Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, just for the record, in terms of ex parte communication, I did have someone in opposition did reach out to me on email and wanted to engage in a conversation, but directed them to the planning department. And I believe they sent an official opposition letter. So just want to put that on record.
Thank you. Questions for Ben? Right. Thank you very much.
Question is for you. Do the motions that were made last meeting still stand, or do new motions have to be
No, we
made?
need new motions.
Okay.
Yep. We don't need to close the public hearing, but we
right.
can move
Yeah.
on the other motions.
I would move to approve change of zone 22035.
Is there a second?
Second core.
We will proceed to discussion. Let's discuss all three motions together, and then we can go ahead and vote from there.
You know, I went back, I was missing that meeting, I missed that meeting, but I went back and watched the entire hearing. And the plan that they're bringing forward makes a great deal of sense. The commercial along Old Cheney makes a great deal of sense. I would not want my backyard lining up with Old Cheney. And an apartment doesn't belong there either. I think that would be worse for the development than what is proposed. And having the villas is a nice transition. It's a blend of different housing styles, and so it offers a greater opportunity for that neighborhood. There are several examples of that type of thing all around town, and those neighborhoods are very cohesive. So I will be strongly supporting all three motions.
Additional comments?
I was real happy to see everyone working really hard, even though it was the holidays, to work together. That was really nice of everybody to take that breath, work it to a solution. So thank you. I'll be supporting the motions.
Anyone else?
I too just want to thank the developer for working with the neighbors and taking the time to explain. I know it's not easy for people that don't do this every day. Sometimes it's not even easy for me. Just want to appreciate, everything that you've done.
I agree. I am pleased that this is moving forward. I'm pleased with the revisions that have been made that will help the current neighbors feel more comfortable, and I am happy to support this. Shelley, call the vote on 6.1A.
Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
I would move to approve use permit 22013.
Second core.
Shelley?
Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
And I would move
Hold
to.
on, we're
oh,
getting called into the principal's office.
Sorry.
I just wanted to clarify, Dick, your motion
With
to
the-
approve it with the
With the
conditions.
memorandum
Yes.
of understanding, yes, correct.
Thank you.
And I would move to approve special permit 22038
With a
with the memorandums attached.
second core.
Shelley?
Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes,
Core.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
Motion approved, 7-0.
At this time, anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so. Seeing none, I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved, Joy?
second Campbell. Beat me.
Shelley?
Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Core.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Edgerton.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Dick, we have.